But you all didn't come here to see or hear from me. So please let me introduce you to Michael Black, prior Chief Operating Officer, prior Air Force member, and he's a key leader in the veteran space. So without further ado, Michael, floor is yours.
Hey, good afternoon. Just a mic check to make sure you guys can hear me. A thumbs up or yes. Okay, good deal. That's one thing I always do. I was a communicator in the Air Force, and so we always did a mic check or sound check and all that. Hey, great. I thank Vets2Industry for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of this awesome networking circuit that you guys put together, your 22nd networking circuit. And ironically, I was the 22nd commander of the White House Communications Agency. So it's prophetic that I'm here with you on your 22nd networking event. It's also prophetic that my middle name starts with B. And so I guess I can be in the group with Brian, Bruce, Brian, Ben, Becca. I'm Bernard. I think there's a Ben on here as well. So I guess that was part of the screening process as well. You got to have a B in your first name or your last name. I think there's an Eric Brew on here too. So a lot of B's here. And so I feel right at home being a part of this. So we're going to talk about networking today. I have a slide that we'll show at the very end that basically well, it's popped up right now, Mike's Morsels, and I'll just kind of go through that. But I really want to hear the questions that the audience has to that want to know about transitioning and about networking. So these are Mike's Morsels. These are not necessarily all that I own directly, but these are things that I have accumulated as part of my DNA, if you will, over the years. And so what I wanted to talk about is networking. The first morsel is that networking is a lot more than business cards. I don't know if you can see my picture as well or video, but I'm holding up a bunch of video cards, and a bunch of business cards. I probably have probably 50 times more of this stack of business cards that I've accumulated, over the years. And so I just say that and show you that networking is a lot more than business cards. I mean, there's a ton of business cards here, and there's lots of good information on here, with people that I want to meet and follow up with. But networking is a lot more than just exchanging business cards with someone. And I'll get into some of those details in the discussion, and hopefully in some of the question and answer kind of thing. Second, I say use your network to improve your net worth. Okay, those two words, network and net worth, are very similar. I mean, if you put the net and the worth together, the only difference is the T and the H on the end of worth, and the K on the end of work. And so I challenge you to use your network to improve your net worth, and you can flip that around. And some people will say that your network is your net worth. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. When I first transitioned into the private sector, I went to a company as their chief operating officer, the end of 2011. Company had about 40 people and was doing about 5 million in revenue a year. I didn't do this by myself, but I had an extensive network, and I was able to help that company garner, probably 15 more contracts and about 15 additional government agencies. And in 4 years, we grew that company from 40 people to 225 people. And then we also increased the revenue of the company from 5 million to about 35 million. Now, it's not all about money. But when you're in a for-profit organization, the bottom line is revenue and money. And so I just say I use my net worth to improve my net worth or my company's net worth. The next thing I want to discuss is connectivity. Okay, we hear a lot about currency today. There's Bitcoin and crypto coin, and obviously the U.S. dollar and money and money talks and currency. There's a lot of buzzword about currency, but I would argue that connectivity is the currency of today, and that connectivity is networking. We exchange words and ideas really more often than we exchange money. Good communication skills are critical to organizational effectiveness. However, few organizations embrace the excellence in communications as a value as a performance imperative. Excellence in communications doesn't just happen. It has to be cultivated and nurtured over time. And you're going to hear me say those words, cultivated and nurture over time. I'm not here to preach to you, but there's several sermons out there that are entitled, that preachers have used that talk about let the dirt do the work. And what does that mean? That means that you got to plant the seed and till the land. But you have to plant that seed first if you're a farmer for that crop to grow and produce. But, I've got grandparents that were farmers. I know people whose parents and grandparents were farmers, and they always talked about let the dirt do the work. And that's how you grow those crops. Well, you can apply that same analogy to your network and to your relationship. You've got to do the work to cultivate that relationship and that network. You must nurture a relationship. I mean, you can't just kind of sometime and collect those business cards and not do anything with it or not follow up on it. And it's a lot easier to do things today in this age of smartphones and tablets and that kind of stuff. I mean, you don't have to take the time to write things down all the time. You can tell Siri or Alexa what to do and what to say. You can dictate your notes. All that kind of stuff. So use technology to your advantage. Another one of my morsels is I don't want to be introducing myself to you and then say, hey, can you, hey, I'm Mike Black. I'm glad to meet you. Can you give me $1 million? I mean, that's not going to go over well if we don't have a relationship. And in the business world, when you're teaming with folks, and trying to produce, the number for your organization, you do have to ask folks to do things and to contribute things. But again, it's not going to go over well if you, again, introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm such and such, and I need $1 million from you to be a part of this team. You have to have an established relationship and have to have been nurturing that over the years. Also with go back to nurturing the relationship, and that relates to part of what I call my command philosophy, which is founded on the 5 F's, family, fitness, flying, fairness, and fun. And I won't go into detail about all of that. That could be a whole nother discussion, but let's key in on the F, the fitness. All of us are, associated with the military, either directly being vets or spouses of veterans, and we have to maintain a physical fitness. So fitness goes without saying, but that spiritual and mental fitness also has to be in balance and has to be nurtured. And so just as you nurture that spiritual and mental fitness, you must nurture the network, the relationship that you have. And if that's out of balance, if your spiritual and mental fitness, as well as your physical fitness, is out of balance, you're not doing yourself any good. You're not doing your fitness any good. And if you don't nurture that relationship or that network, you're not doing that relationship or that network any good. Networking allows you to meet interesting people. Now, I'm not here to, to brag about all the people that I know, but my networking has allowed me to meet some very interesting people. I've personally met over 10 living Tuskegee Airmen, documented original Tuskegee Airmen, because of my networking and because of my network. Now, to meet a living legend like the Tuskegee Airmen, they're all over 95 years old now, with Brigadier General Charles McGee being 101 and a half. He'll be 102 in December. I went to his birthday party when he turned 100, and they bought him a new Genesis car, and he drove it home. I mean, talk about, meeting interesting people because of my network. I'm a big Redskin fan. I know there's probably some that are not Redskin fans out there. I know Brian Plank is up from the originally from Minnesota, and he's got a family that's divided between the Packers and the Vikings. I see a Go Giants in there, but my network has allowed me to meet Dan Snyder, Gary Clark, our former wide receiver for the Redskins, Ken Harvey, former linebacker. I've got to meet Colin Powell, President Bush, President Obama, Condoleezza Rice, all because of my network and cultivating that network. Networking may lead you to a coach, mentor, or sponsor. And I think everybody knows, what a coach is. I mean, a coach is somebody who's going to, correct your shot and show you how to, keep your elbow in and follow through on your jump shot. A mentor's been there and done that, and it's going to teach you to shorten the learning curve. But not everybody has a sponsor. And a sponsor is somebody who gives you access. My sponsor, when I was in the military, was a gentleman by the name of Major General John Maluda. And he, because I, cultivated that relationship with him while I was in the service and over the years, he had a plan for me in the military. And so I was stationed with him at Langley Air Force Base. And he was on the Air Combat Command staff, and I was a commander of the comm squadron. Took a liking to me. I took a liking to him. We stayed in touch. I went off to War College. His plan for me was to go to the White House Communications Agency, be the deputy commander, move up and be the commander in 2 years. That's what my sponsor did for me. But you peel that back, the networking that I had and the cultivating that relationship, that's what that led to. That's an example of networking may lead to a coach, mentor, or sponsor. Networking allows you to get a different perspective on things. We don't always have the right answer as an individual in looking at something. Sometimes we may have blinders on. Sometimes we may not be able to see out to our right or left. But having that network of folks to lean on and rely on allows you to gain a different perspective. And you need that perspective in trying to make the best possible decision for yourself, for an organization. Last two, contacts only last 18 months is a myth. A little story on this. I had a former boss, CEO, who told me that, hey, Mike, your contacts are only good for 18 months. And I actually took offense to that. I mean, I was pissed that he said that. I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know my contacts. I stay engaged with folks, my network. My contacts are not stale after 18 months. I actually stay in touch with my contacts and cultivate that relationship. So I really took offense to that. I mean, it pissed me off. I mean, my CEO pissed me off when he said that to me. And to this day, I had a director of operations that worked with me, and we always joke about this. When something comes up, I'm still in touch with her, and she'll say to me, hey, she calls me by my last name. She says, hey, Black, I bet that contact was more than 18 months old when we connect the dots and do things. So it's just a myth. You have to cultivate that relationship. And finally, it's not 6 degrees of separation anymore. The advent of technology, the advent of connectivity, the pandemic has allowed us to do things virtually. And I've created really my own cliche about 6 degrees of separation. For me, there is 1 degree of separation between me and anybody you. That's all 148 of us that are on here. Anybody that you want to meet. There's 1 degree of separation between me. If I don't know the person, I know somebody that knows them. And that's because of my network, and that's because I've cultivated that network. So these are my morsels. These are Mike's morsels. This is what networking means to me. This is what has created success for me. I'm happy to entertain any questions about what I talked about, any questions about networking. I think I'm on target for time.
All right, so anyone who has a question, please send it a private message to me so I can read it off. And I'll just go ahead and throw out the first one while they're gaining that courage to send a question in. So in your role with the White House Communications, what was your favorite person that you met?
That's a great question. There's several that I got to meet. I mean, both presidents, President Bush and President Obama, to meet those two gentlemen was amazing. To meet Mrs. Obama was amazing. She's just a very, very smart lady, and just fun to be around. Learned a lot from her demeanor. I also had the opportunity to meet Condoleezza Rice. That was on Air Force One in a conference room when we were singing "Happy Birthday" to President Bush. She was at the table. I was around the table, and I happened to be sitting or standing right behind her, and that was amazing. There are many others, but those are the ones that come to the top of my mind. And I have to pinch myself, every day when I think about, what God had planned for me, in 2007 to 2012 to be able to do that was an amazing experience.
See, now you got me wanting to ask a bunch of questions about Air Force One, but yeah, we're already connected, so I'll ask that later on.
All right.
But our first question we have from Jennifer Burks. She would love for you to elaborate on what a sponsor is and does, and why we should have one or be one.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer, and thanks for asking that question. So Mike Black's definition of a sponsor is somebody who is going to give you access. And the difference between a coach and a mentor as opposed to a sponsor is somebody who's going to get you to that meeting, get you at the table, so where you can show your capabilities. There were many people that were qualified to be the deputy commander and the commander of the White House Communications Agency. My sponsor, General Maluda, is the one who got me the access to get the interview. There are many people that didn't even get the interview that were qualified. But my sponsor, who was a 2-star general, who happened to have been in the White House Communications Agency when he was a major and lieutenant colonel, that's what that sponsor did for me. I think it's important to have a sponsor. Now, you can't just go up and say, hey, will you be my sponsor? I cultivated that relationship over the years, worked with him 2004 to 2006 at Langley Air Force Base, built up a great relationship with him, and he became a mentor to me as well. But not only a mentor, he was in a position to be a sponsor and give me access. So a sponsor, in Mike Black's definition, a sponsor gives you access to something that you would not necessarily get access to just by being yourself. You knew that person, they can go open the door and get you that meeting, or that opportunity to showcase yourself.
Great explanation of it, and I'll tell you, you got to find these gems, these people that are going to help promote you, that are going to speak to you when you're not around, or speaking about you to others when you're not around, and kind of get those introductions. And like we say, your network equals your net worth. We heard Michael say it a little bit earlier. You heard many of us preach it. So you just got to continue to make the connections and make those work and put the effort in. You own your transition, as Herb Thompson will tell you. Our next one, we got Brandy Shirley wants to know, how do you maintain and nurture relationships with so many people?
Thank you, Brandy. That is tough. But I also believe that that's my purpose, and I read the book, The Purpose Driven Life. I read that chapter in that book every day. So I take yoga in the morning, and I believe that my purpose on this earth is to be a connector and to connect folks, and so it's something that I like to do. I'm an extrovert. I like being around people, and I like helping people. Having been a commander 3 different times, from the squadron all the way to the wing command equivalent level in the Air Force, it's our job as a leader to develop our folks, and so I take that serious. And I have been a sponsor to folks. I've been a mentor and a coach to folks because of that, cultivating that relationship. I'm wiser now than I was when I was 22 years old, and I understand, why I've crossed paths with certain folks, and I follow up. Meeting Gary Clark. I told you I'm a big Redskin fan. I went because my company had tickets, season tickets to the Redskins game. I was able to go to a Washington football team. Sorry about that. I was able to go to a what they call a chalk talk and meet at the time George Allen's son, Bruce Allen, who was the general manager, and Gary Clark was at that chalk talk. And I took that opportunity to talk to Bruce Allen about the team that I loved, and I basically said, hey, in order for you guys to get better, you need to go down to recruit at the University of Alabama. That's where I'm from, and they produce great folks. Roll Tide. And I kid you not, that next year, that's when they drafted Jonathan Allen. And then you can kind of look at the history of who they've drafted on their defense. At one time, there was going to be 5 guys from the University of Alabama that were 26 years or younger that were starting on the Redskins defense. And I am taking credit for that because I talked to Bruce Allen, and after I talked to him, they went down there and started drafting Alabama players. The other thing is, Gary Clark, I met him there, huge fan. I gave him my number because he asked for it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's not going to reach back out to me. Less than a week, he reached back out to me and said, hey, let's grab some coffee at Starbucks. I'd like to find out a little bit more about what you do and all of that. And so I followed up. You have to follow up. Most definitely. I see a Longhorns fan in there. I see a Roll Tide. Longhorns did. I guess they're seeing the light. They want to come to the SEC, like Oklahoma, play some real football.
All right, and you might as well get that college football chatter going since it starts next week.
That's right.
So, William Lent, how do you prepare to attempt connecting with a new networking nod?
Okay, so I assume is if you're the question is if I don't know the person or know the people. How do I prepare myself for that opportunity and that kind of thing? Well, if I know I'm going to meet a person, I do my homework. And there's lots of ways to do that now. There's professional organizations out there or networks out there. LinkedIn is a good one. If I know I'm gonna go meet somebody at a networking event and know they're going to be there, then I look that person up on LinkedIn. I see where there's mutual connections, and I kid you not, there's no more than 2 degrees of separation between me and the person. I find somebody that knows that person, do all my homework about that individual, about their company, and I'm prepared. And then the other thing is I just be myself and be honest. If you're honest, you don't have to think about what you said. You don't have to think about did I tell them this or did I tell them that? I just was honest. I told them who I am, what I do, what I like, and that's who I am. I don't want to get political, on here, but politics is involved, and sometimes, when the White House comes up, in my background, people do want to go down that road and find out, well, where do you stand and that kind of stuff, and I give them the answer that I was taught and that I believe in the military. We serve the office, we serve the executive office of the president. I happen to have served a Republican administration and a Democrat administration. So if they want to go down that political line, I'm prepared to say I've served both, and I understand both policies and concepts.
And Michael, we're going to stop the Q&A here so we can actually get into the rest of the event. But I'll tell you, there were questions. So if you don't mind, we're going to get those together and get them emailed over to you. And then we'll post those out on our Facebook and LinkedIn page.
Absolutely. Let me just close by saying I am on LinkedIn. There's some that already connected with me that are part of V2 V2I leading up to this. I welcome any connections, and if you want to ask me something directly on here, please do. I see my buddy John Cash on here, good friend of mine who I grew up with in the military. There's probably some others on here that I know, but I just saw John's thank you pop up. But I'm open to be reached out to and be connected with.
All right. And of course, we welcome you to stay for the entire event or for as long as you have. So you can take part in a couple breakout rooms, but we understand your time, and we appreciate you and thank you for talking with us and attending. And if V2I can be of assistance to you or someone that you're working with, we're here. You just got to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to assist.
Well, thank you. I will stick around for some parts of the rest of the program, and if I can be of assistance to V2I in any capacity, please let me know. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
And Michael, there was actually 2 questions that were sent to me, but they're very quick.
Okay.
What was the name of the book that you referenced?
So the Purpose-Driven Life is a book by Rick Warren, and it has 42 chapters in it. He's updated the book, and each day it just talks about your purpose. It's spiritually based, but it's a great book that helps understand your purpose in life. And like I said, I take a yoga class every morning, and I actually lead the devotion in that class and give a highlight of that chapter. And today was day 28, August 28th, and we talked about it takes time. Talked about spiritual maturity, and it takes time to do that. And so that's what the lesson was on today.
And last question is, what is the biggest mistake you see folks making when starting their network for a purpose? Maybe take like 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
I think probably the biggest mistake is not following up and taking action. And that to me that tells me something about, I guess, the situation. So I always try to follow up particularly with somebody that I want to network with. I mean, I take the initiative to do that, and it's not a matter of, to me, it's not a matter of a rank kind of thing. If there's somebody that I want to follow up with and want to continue to network with, I'm going to take the initiative. But I see that people don't follow up, and sometimes that message gets received as you're not interested.
Thank you for that, and thank you for coming. Truly appreciate it. Now we're gonna switch things up a little bit.